Hello, how are we doing today? I'm doing a little better. We have company. Say hi, Remf. Say hi. Isn't he a beautiful boy? Oh, I just love my man. My old man. You want to step up here and say hello? Say hello to the camera? Huh? Want to say hello to the camera? Here you go. Okay, you can get back down now. There you go. You can stay there. Don't really like you on the table anyways. I don't eat on this table, so it's no big deal, but when I paint, I don't want cat hair in it. Um, I mentioned before that I make jewelry, and I don't know if you can see it, but this is one piece that I made. I'm still working on making a pair of earrings to go with it, so I'm wearing a pair that my sister-in-law made for me. She is just so, I don't know how she does this. I can't do this little stuff. I have to use the bigger beads, but she makes some beautiful earrings. Most of the earrings you see me wearing are from her. So, okay. Last time I mentioned talking about my dad. Oh, he was a great man. I wish I had known him before he got sick. Unfortunately, when I was very, very young, I was like maybe 6, he ended up having an aneurysm, which apparently burst on the operating table, and it was in his left frontal lobe. So the father I remember wasn't exactly all there. His short-term memory was shot. Okay, we'll see you later. Um, so he had an obsession with food, which I think was part of his short-term memory. He would eat and then he would forgotten that he had eaten, so he would want to eat again. So we had these little tricks that we would pull. No, I wouldn't call them tricks, but like part of my job growing up was while mother was cooking, I would play cribbage with him or some other game. Mostly it was cribbage, and it was to keep him out of the kitchen while she was cooking. But he would always tell a lot of stories. His long-term memory was great. He had a lot of memory from before he got sick. The time period in which he did have the aneurysm was gone. Like, this is really sad. He had no memory of my little brother being born, which I can just imagine how that affected my little brother and him, because he would sit there and look at Michael and say, whose kid is that? But he would tell me stories about when he worked for the ferry system up here. He was his rank was quartermaster. His job was pilot, and he was also really heavily involved in the Inland Boatmen's Union. He even became president of it for a term. So, we used to have this huge letter of recommendation in our foyer from President Kennedy because he had devised an escape route. Now, originally, I guess it was for, like this was during the Cold War, the heat of the Cold War, actually. But it was also in case of Mount St. Helens, or not Mount St. Helens, but if Mount Rainier blew, or I would imagine Mount Baker. Mount Baker is awfully close too. This is in the Seattle area in Washington. That's where I grew up. And so he did a lot of phenomenal things growing up. And he was what they would call self-made man. He quit school in like the 8th grade so he could go to work. I think he started out shipping apples because he grew up and lived in Yakima on the other side of the mountains. So he started out driving apples from Yakima to Seattle, I guess. And then eventually somehow him and his mother ended up living in Seattle, which is where he met Mom. When it came to Mom, he wasn't in love with her. He wasn't even near in love with her. He was totally infatuated with her. And I think, the one thing my parents taught me was loyalty, and I can't think of the word I want right now, but no matter how bad it got, they stayed together. When my father got sick, apparently, now this is just, it could be hearsay, but this is just what I've heard. The doctors went to my mother because she was only 42, 43 at the time. See, my dad was only 49, and there was like 7, 8 years between them. Maybe even more. I'm not sure. Let's see. She was born in 25, and he was born in 1918, so you can do the math. The doctors told her, look, you're young. You're still beautiful. You can just forget about all this. Put the kids up for adoption, because there was 6 of us at the time. Paul was, on his way out. He was like 18 or 19, I guess. Divorce your husband and just start a whole new life. I mean, that floored me. I mean, what right does a doctor have to tell somebody that, ditch your family and start over just because of this one little bump in the road? I'd be in real big trouble if I went by that, because Richard had a stroke back in 2006, 5 or 6. And if I had lived by that, I wouldn't be here right now. Honestly, I would not be here right now. I probably would have killed myself a long time ago. Because, and he survived it. It was a small one, thankfully. He was still able to go back to work afterwards. He's still able to do the reserves for, 6, 7 years after that. They finally forced him into retirement in 2011. But, yeah. And apparently she thought the same thing, because she never did, apparently. Now, she wasn't the greatest caretaker. Her alcoholism did get in the way. There was quite a bit of neglect going on in the household. She did manage to get dishes done every day and cook dinner every day. But other than that, I don't remember her trying to get me up for school. I don't remember her telling me, brush your teeth, go to bed, anything like that. I remember her telling me to go to bed because she went to bed early, and when she went to bed, everybody went to bed. Rules of the house. I'd always sneak down afterwards, though, and watch my Saturday Night Live and whatever. I mean, there were exceptions to the rule, especially, as I got older. and after I had Chris. But but he always had these great stories to tell, and it's really kind of sad what had happened to him. But life is real. But Mom stuck it out, kept us together. As hard as it was, we were in the middle of selling the house, apparently, because pretty much right after he came home from the hospital, we went from our old house to the new house. Now, I don't really remember the old house. I remember what it looked like. I can draw diagrams of it, but I have no memories of anything that went on inside it, except for maybe stories. So, my earliest memory is being in the car. I got a fly here driving me crazy. We have yaks that live next door, and they like to bring flies in. They like to share their flies, unfortunately. So anyways, I lost my train of thought. Oh well. We didn't get anything, you know. He was on the operating table when they applied for Social Security for him, so he could get his disability. And we're talking about a man who has worked for 40 plus years, and they denied him. He's sitting on an operating table. He's an experimental surgery at this point. This is back in the late 60s, where brain surgery was really super experimental. Apparently, he's the first person to actually survive more than 6 months after this kind of surgery. So, I mean, I guess apparently he's even in textbooks. I don't know, I never looked it up. But we moved, and like my earliest memory was being in the car, coming to the new house, Dad saying, "Where are we going? I want to go home." Everybody would chime, "We are going home." And as soon as we got in our new house, the house next door caught on fire. Oh, fun. So we got to spend most of the evening in the car waiting to make sure that our house didn't catch on fire. And that was my earliest memory. So I'm going to go take care of this fly. It's really driving me crazy. And I imagine driving you crazy too. So I'll go for now, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.